Growing up in eastern Canada, I've always enjoyed nature. I've always enjoyed exploring beneath the soil, because within the choirs of birds chirping, I've gotten lost in my thoughts and directions. But I would always find patterns in how to get home, as when the sun set, I knew to walk opposing it. One day I got lost following my own shadow. Tracing my body into the earth as a silhouette, I began seeing how rays of light could be hidden by objects. In a world without trees, I noticed how you can be hidden by people. In patterns, I find a purpose of true nature. I find mirrors of myself reflected in my peers, and it's been every moment where I've walked alone or beside someone that's brought me here. Creating this piece, I wanted to make something people wanted to be a part of. I wanted to feed my classmates' craving to move in space, and to move audience members into believing that they don't walk alone. Wanting to emphasize bonds, with the help of my cast, we created tangles of limbs, which always contained points of contact. These connections of light were followed by the darkness of our own shadows. Once researching in the studio, questions started to pop into my mind. Like if we copy our own shadows in times of need, or if we follow our own shadow, or if I can only find my shadow in light.
Group dynamic. Group generally means more than one, so two or more people, and dynamic is kind of the opposite of static, so something that's changing, evolving, constantly morphing and shifting. So within a group dynamic or group energy, I would say it's definitely related to the relationship the group members have to one another, how much is shared, and I think a big part is how much they care about one another.
Isolation means being alone. The literal definition of isolation is to be apart from other people and places. To me, personally, my experience in isolation has been very profound. And to me, it means courage and bravery and being able to sit with yourself and your emotions and having the courage to look inside yourself and feel those feelings. And within isolation, I think there is so much time for introspection, and there's a lot of time spent with yourself. And so isolation to me is a journey, and it means looking inside and discovering and learning and growing and transformation. Isolation to me is transformation.
For me, isolation is lonely at times, and it feels like there's a disconnect between me and the world. And sometimes it's hard to get out of that constant battle between myself and my thoughts. And that's been a struggle during isolation. But when it comes to coming together, I really think of moments in the studio where we're in a big space and we have the motivation and support of other dancers around us, and no judgment involved, just being able to share and create and motivate each other.
To me, isolation is the process of taking yourself out of situations that you don't belong in. So, in today's climate, due to COVID-19,
And it's not easy. It's not easy. We aren't meant to be alone. We, as humans, we rely on each other. It's human nature to be with each other.
It would be so weird to walk on the street and put your hand out and like touch someone's chest and just leave it there. And you get to do this in these processes. Like you have this human connection and you really feel stuff through it, and it's pretty incredible.
During this process, I started searching for my shadow everywhere. And it wasn't until I looked into 34 eyes of the 17 members in my cast on March 11th that I realized my shadow lived in their eyes when they danced. And I saw glimmers of all the other shadows dancing in their eyes as they completed the patterns together. Walking with this upwards gaze, the isolation of 17 individuals vanished, and they were one. And I began to come to the conclusion in that moment that is forever changing within my research on this idea, on how, as alone as we may feel, we will always walk beside each other.